Okay, so welcome to our first lecture on morphology.
Uh, in morphology, part 1, we begin with some basic concepts and terms. Of course, you should know, first of all, what is morphology? What morphology studies? Okay.
I'm sure you know by now that morphology is the study of words, right? Of word formation.
Yeah, how word is structured.
Right, and how
Actually, words has grammar also. Yeah.
And how words are created and the rules of how words are created. The word morphology is the study of form, right? The study of
Yes.
The way something is, right? Looks, right? Created.
Yeah, and in a way, we also talk about the rules of word formation. Yeah. And the most important term is morpheme. So we have to know what is morpheme. Yeah, so morpheme is the smallest unit of language that carries meaning or grammatical function.
And it may be a word or it might not be a word.
Yes, it could be smaller than a word. So such as in the word cats.
C-A-T-S, cats. You might think that this is, okay, this is one word. But actually it contains not one, but two morphemes, right? The morpheme that contains the content, cat, C-A-T, and one that carries grammatical function, the one of plural, right? The plural grammatical function, S. So C-A-T-S, cats, is two morphemes.
Yes. So we could say that morpheme actually is a sound meaning unit. So in other words, in this unit, sound and the meaning are combined. Not like in phonetics and phonology, remember? So we talk about phoning. Okay, phoning, okay, it's the sound, individual sound. But actually, there's no meaning. So like p, there's no meaning.
There's no meaning unless it transforms into a morpheme, right? And you add something and it becomes a morpheme. And then you put the meaning with the sound, you match it, and you have a morpheme.
Yeah, okay. And now we are going to talk about the different types of morpheme. Basically, there are two types, free morpheme and the bound morpheme. There are two other types, okay, if we divide free morpheme. Okay, further, the first kind is called lexical morpheme, and the second, functional morpheme. And similarly, we can also further divide the bound morpheme into two kinds, derivational and the inflectional morpheme. But what is free morpheme?
Okay, a free morpheme is a morpheme that can stand alone by itself in a sentence.
That's why it's free.
That's why it is free.
So it doesn't have to be attached to another morpheme.
Exactly. It's single and free to move around and attach itself to others.
So just like before you get married,
yes,
you are
that's
free.
Right. Yes, before you are married, you are free.
But once, okay, you make your commitment
once
to another
you put a
person,
ring on it,
yeah,
you are bound.
Okay.
Okay, so we should give an example.
Yeah.
So an example of a free morpheme in English is cat, C-A-T, dog, D-O-G. These are all free morphemes because they can stand alone in a sentence. A bound morpheme would be like the plural S, right, or the apostrophe S, or the ED, right, to indicate past tense. These are all bound morphemes in English.
Yeah, and then we say lexical morpheme and the functional morpheme. And lexical morpheme actually is the so-called open class. And you do know why it is open?
It's an open class because in the language you can easily add new morphemes to it, right? You can easily add new words to this class, constantly create new content.
Yeah, such as verbs, nouns, adjectives, and the adverbs.
And adverbs, yes.
Yeah, even though you might see more, maybe nouns and adverbs. For example, like we have created a lot of new words.
A lot of new
English.
Words, right? Like selfie,
yeah.
Right? This is a word that is recently more new. Or on Facebook, the word like. This has a new meaning now. So we're constantly creating new meanings and new words. And these words are in the open class.
Yes, and by contrast, it's really unusual to create new words to functional morpheme. I mean, new family, new member.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's why we call it closed. So, for example, like articles.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And
the.
Preposition.
Right. In, on, under.
Conjunction.
Right.
Okay.
And. But.
And pronouns. Right.
He, she, it.
Yeah. Even though in history once, people tried to add, a neutral, third person pronoun. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have, like she, he.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then it's
really difficult to add a closed class morpheme.
Yeah. Okay. And Bang morpheme, derivational morpheme, if you know the word, the meaning of the word, derivational, derive means obtain, right? You obtain, you get something new. Therefore, when we have a derivational morpheme, it means by adding this morpheme, we create a new word, a totally new word.
Exactly. So, for instance, the word teach and teacher, the ER you add, it means something different, right? Teach and teacher mean different things. So, the ER is a derivational bound morpheme that is used to create a new word. That means something different from the original teach. It refers to the person, it changes from the verb to noun. So, the ER is a derivational bound morpheme.
Yeah, okay. But then sometimes, the meaning looks similar. Okay, for example, like a quick. Quick is an adjective, but if you add ly, it becomes quickly. And quickly actually is a different word.
It's a new word. It's a new word, right?
Even though they share, similar
meanings. However, it's a different syntactic class.
Yeah, they have a different part of speech.
Yes.
Okay. But when we talk about inflectional morpheme, actually, you don't create a new word. You simply, inflect on a word, which reflects its function, its grammatical function. Remember earlier we say morphology is about word formation. How words are formed, but also, how those, in the process of formation, they follow certain rules. So that's the grammatical function. So here exactly in inflectional morpheme, we see, those grammatical functions are encoded. They are marked. For example, like a cats.
Right. The plural s. The word cat and cats doesn't change the original meaning of what this word is, but it gives us more grammatical meaning. It tells us that it's plural. For this same idea, the word teach, if you add the es, teaches, right? This is simply to code the third person, right? The person
teaches,
agreement, teaches, right? Es, right?
Yeah.
It's simply to talk about the verb-subject agreement. And so it's coding grammatical function, but it doesn't change the original meaning of what this word is.
Yes.
And for this reason, this kind of S is called an inflectional bound morpheme.
Yeah, actually in English, there are only A kinds, And for example, like in nouns, we use S, a suffix, s to encode the plural. But then in verbs, we also have a past tense,
ed.
And we have a present, right?
Yes.
Present perfect. The perfect,
Yes, the perfect.
And then also aspect, ing,
yes.
And subject verb agreement and so on. Let's move on. And now we are talking about two ways to classify bound morphemes. Earlier we talked about inflectional and derivational morphemes, and now let's get to a second way, according to where their position, appearing, So, for example, okay, if you add something, okay, to a morpheme in the beginning, then we call it prefix, okay, and in the if we insert it, okay, and then we call it an infix, and then if this, okay, morpheme is attached to a base, okay, which is called stem at the end, and we call it suffix. And what about circumfix? It's really quite impossible to see in English.
That's right. It's very. I don't think it exists.
No, it doesn't
at least in
exist
normal speech. At least in formal, in formal speech.
No. I mean, in English we don't have circumfix, but then we do have it in some other language.
Okay, a circumfix attaches itself. It splits itself and attaches it to both ends of a word. And that's the circumfix, right? So it's split into two parts, and
in the beginning and at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It surrounds the word.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so this is another kind of way to classify bound morphemes.
Yeah, and then since you know the word meaning of affix, okay, means attach. We attach it to something else. So affixation, okay, is a process. It means that we have affixes which are attached to something, a base, okay, and this base is called a stem, okay, yeah, and if this stem, okay, is a single, okay, I mean, it's a single morpheme, in other words, that you cannot further divide it up, and we call it a root, okay. However, we sometimes have a complex base. For example, like in readership, okay, we actually have, okay, reader and then ship, okay, but then reader as a base or a stem, actually it can be further divided up into two more morphemes, like read and er.
Er, yes.
So in that case, we cannot call it a root. Okay, so then it's a complex base.
Yes.
So, and root, actually, sometimes the root is free. I think in most cases. However, there are rare, very few cases, okay, we do see the so-called bound stem, okay, bound root. Okay, and why we call it bound? Because look at the word inept.
Yes.
Actually, apt doesn't mean anything, right? So when it doesn't mean anything, means it cannot stand alone like a free morpheme. So therefore, it's a bound morpheme.
Right.
It's a bound morpheme, so therefore we say it's a bound root. But actually, you probably cannot find many examples. Okay, here I give you 3.
Yes.
Okay, and then, okay, here from this slide, you can further see, okay, the relationship. For example, like stem as a free morpheme, right? And it happens to be one word also. By the way, Andrew, so free morpheme, okay, in terms of part of speech, normally there are verbs, nouns, adjective, and the adverb, right?
That's right.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. So now, system is a noun, okay? And we can further expand it by adding more morpheme. For example, now if we use a derivation of morpheme, what kind of word can you derive?
So here we see we can add an atic, right? The suffix atic to create systematic, which is an adjective, right?
Yes, then it turns from a noun to
an adjective. Right.
Right, but then we can also add something else at the beginning, a prefix.
Un, right? Unsystematic, which is a different word than systematic.
Yes.
Right. So the un is a prefix. Okay.
And then we can add further more, okay, suffixes. So like al, unsystematical.
And then an ly, right? Unsystematically.
Yeah.
And this is the process of have fixation.
Yes.
And with each addition, the root and stem changes. The stem changes, we should say.
Yes,
right?
yes. And then also it helps us to derive more and more new words.
Mm-hmm. So that's it for our first mini lecture on morphology. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.